Ever feel like you're drowning in health information?
Yeah.
Like you just want the core insights without wading through all the technical details.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, that's exactly why we do these deep dives. We're going deep on a fascinating study this time, one that ties what you eat in middle age to how well you age, not just how long you live.
That's the important part, right?
So we're talking mental sharpness, physical health, the whole picture.
Exactly. It's about quality of life, not just adding years.
Researchers from Harvard and Copenhagen tracked over 100,000 people for decades. Talk about a gold mine of data, huh?
Oh, yeah. This is a huge study, long-term, large scale, the kind of data that can really give us solid answers about healthy aging.
They looked at how closely people stuck to 8 different healthy eating patterns. Now, before you get overwhelmed by that number 8, think of them as different paths towards the same destination.
Right. They're all variations on a theme.
More fruits and veggies, whole grains, healthy fats, less processed stuff, red meat, too much sodium, that sort of thing.
So we've got the Alternative Healthy Eating Index, or AHEI, and the Alternative Mediterranean Index, the AMD. Both are big on plant-based foods and those good fats. Then there's DS, the one that's known for managing blood pressure in mind, which blends the Mediterranean and DASH approaches to give your brain a boost.
Right, mind for the mind.
And then we've got the Healthful Plant-Based Diet Index, or HPDI, and the Planetary Health Diet Index, PHDI. That one adds an interesting layer of environmental sustainability. And finally, there's the Empirical Dietary Inflammatory Pattern, E to P, that one's reversed, and the Empirical Dietary Index for Hyperinsulinemia, EDIH, also reversed. These last two are about how diet affects inflammation and your body's response to insulin. But the key takeaway here is this: even with all these different names, they all basically emphasize whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay, so 8 different ways to approach healthy eating, but what did this massive study actually find? What's the big headline here?
The most striking finding is that the more closely people followed any of these 8 patterns in middle age, the better their chances of healthy aging.
So it's not about rigidly adhering to one specific diet. It's about the overall pattern.
Exactly.
Were there any standout diets, though? Ones that had a particularly strong connection to healthy aging?
Yes, a couple stood out.
Okay, tell me more.
The AHEI, the Alternative Healthy Eating Index, had the strongest link overall, especially when it came to staying physically and mentally healthy later in life.
Interesting. So what exactly does the AHEI champion?
Lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, and healthy fats, while limiting red and processed meat, sugary drinks, and keeping that sodium in check. Pretty much the gold standard of healthy eating.
So you're looking for a dietary roadmap for your later years. The AHEI seems like a pretty good place to start. Now, what about the Planetary Health Diet Index, the PHDI? I remember reading that one had some impressive results too, right?
Absolutely. The PHBI showed a strong connection to keeping your cognitive function intact and even living longer. And what makes it so fascinating is that it considers not just your own health, but the health of the planet too. It's about sustainable food choices.
Oh, that's so important. I'm glad they included that. So besides the big picture, what about specific foods? I know our listeners always want to know the nitty-gritty, what to load up on and what to maybe cut back on.
Yeah, I think we all do.
So did the study offer any insights on that?
It did, actually. The study showed that consistently eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, things like beans and lentils, nuts, and those good unsaturated fats were all linked to healthier aging. On the flip side, less ultra-processed food, trans fats, keeping sodium in check, and cutting back on red and processed meats were also key.
So no huge surprises there, but it's reassuring to see that these classic healthy eating habits really do pay off in the long run.
Absolutely. It's about long-term benefits.
Now, the findings also hinted that these dietary benefits might not be equally distributed, right? Certain groups seem to benefit even more. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that was an interesting nuance. The researchers noticed that the positive effects of sticking to these healthy eating plans were even more pronounced in certain groups.
Like who, specifically?
Women, for instance, also people with a higher BMI, smokers, and those who weren't as physically active.
Huh. So for those folks, paying attention to their diet in middle age could be even more impactful when it comes to healthy aging.
Exactly. It suggests that it's never too late to turn things around. And if you're in one of those groups that might face higher risks for age-related health issues, prioritizing a healthy diet could be a game changer.
That's actually a very hopeful message. Now, with all these different dietary patterns showing benefits, it's natural to wonder, is there one ultimate best diet? The holy grail of healthy aging, so to speak.
Well, the researchers' conclusion on that was actually quite refreshing.
Really? What did they say?
While they were very clear about the advantages of plant-forward eating for healthy aging, they also stressed that there's no one-size-fits-all ideal diet. It really comes down to personalizing your approach.
So what should people consider when tailoring their diets based on these findings?
A lot of things, actually. Your cultural food traditions, what you grew up eating, what's readily available and affordable where you live, your personal preferences, any health conditions or dietary needs you have.
So it's not about strict rules. It's about understanding the core principles, lots of whole, unprocessed foods, and then figuring out how to make that work for you.
Exactly.
Earlier, we touched on the planetary health diet, the PHDI, and its focus on sustainability. Can you tell us why it was so important that the researchers included this particular diet in the study?
I think it's a big deal because it directly connects what's on your plate to the health of the planet. It's a framework that nudges you toward eating habits that benefit both your own well-being and minimize your environmental impact. It's proof that these two goals don't have to be at odds. Personal health and planetary health can go hand in hand.
So eating well for yourself can also be good for the planet. It's a win-win. This study really makes you rethink how we view food as we get older, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about dodging disease, it's about actively shaping a better future.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So what you're saying is this research promotes a more proactive approach to food.
Exactly. While preventing chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes is crucial, it's just one part of the story. It's also about intentionally enhancing your quality of life as you age, maintaining your independence, keeping your mind sharp and engaged, and truly enjoying those extra years.
Because, let's face it, people are living longer now, so the quality of those extended years becomes even more crucial.
Precisely. It's not just about quantity, it's about quality.
Right. It's not about adding years to your life, but adding life to your years.
And as lifespans increase, this study shows just how much what you eat during middle age influences the quality of those extra years. It's about having the energy and mental vitality to truly savor a longer life.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's sum it all up. What's the one key takeaway from our deep dive into this study on diet and healthy aging?
The big takeaway is this. The way you eat during your middle years has a deep and lasting effect on how well you age. It affects your physical abilities, mental well-being, and how sharp you are mentally as you get older.
And the secret sauce seems to be a balanced diet centered around whole, unprocessed foods, with a heavy emphasis on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and healthy fats.
Absolutely. And while there isn't a single perfect diet for everyone, adopting these basic principles and finding a way to eat that fits your personal needs, preferences, and lifestyle is key to setting yourself up for successful aging.
So as you're processing all of this, here's a thought to chew on. What if even small, consistent changes to your diet now could lead to big positive changes for your future self? Which of these eating patterns or specific foods we discussed really resonate with you in your current way of life? What's one small, manageable step you could take today, maybe even this week, to shift your eating habits in a way that supports not just your health today, but a healthy, vibrant future?
That's a great question to consider.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. I hope it's given you some food for thought, pun intended.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.